Hi, and welcome to our visit to Fountains Abbey and Studley Royal Park. We visited here as part of our Yorkshire road trip, which took in York, Whitby, Ripon and Harrogate. Fountains Abbey and Studley Royal Park can be found just 4 miles from the beautiful historic city of Ripon, and our look around will focus on Fountains Hall, the remains of Fountains Abbey, the walk to Studley Royal Park before heading up to St Mary's Church, Studley Royal. So without further ado, let's go and explore. Fountains Abbey and Studley Royal Water Gardens are part of the same landscape. Run by the National Trust, English Heritage membership is also accepted here. Some of the car parks are free to members, others are pay and display. I'll place a link to the National Trust website in the description with more details of pricing, etc. We're here on a lovely day in June, a typical English summer's day. You'll see what I mean later. Our first point of interest will be Fountains Hall, which you may overlook if you head straight to the Abbey ruins. However, it's well worth a detour to take in this beautiful Jacobean house, which was built by Sir Stephen Proctor in the early 17th century, but has seen many uses over time. The last owners, the Viner family, who also owned Studley Royal Estate, including Fountains Abbey, used it as their residence in the 1920s. However, financial pressures and the loss of Royal Studley House to fire in 1946 meant the family slowly sold off the estate, and in the 1960s it was acquired by the West Riding County Council, who transferred it to the National Trust in 1983. As you leave, you may notice a touching memorial to Elizabeth and Charles de Grey Viner. Both lost their lives in World War II. Fountains Hall is beautiful and said to be constructed from the stone from the nearby abbey after its forced closure. It's just a short walk from here to the Porter's Lodge, the meeting point for guided tours. Check at reception on the day you'll visit to see what's on and when. Now you have a view of the ruins of the abbey, and from here I think you can truly appreciate its scale. If you're looking for a snack, you're next to the Mule Cafe, one of the 3 sites you have available on a visit here, but openings vary, so you have to check to see what your options are. Looking down onto the River Skell, we catch a glimpse of some little ducklings. This waterway was important to more than just wildlife. It was the reason the Cistercian monks chose this valley to site their abbey. So the Cistercians were a splinter group from the Benedictine order. However, they felt they'd become too wealthy and materialistic, so adopted a simplistic approach focused on hard work, prayer, self-sufficiency and separation from worldly affairs. Another reason they chose this quiet valley for their home. Fountains Abbey was founded in 1132 after a group of monks left the Benedictine order of St Mary's Abbey in York. You may have caught that in our York video. It'll be part of the playlist I'll pop up at the end. Anyway, the Cistercian monks were skilled farmers and renowned for their engineering, especially working with water, so the River Skell provided the engine for the order to flourish, and by the 16th century, Fountains Abbey was one of the richest monasteries in England. However, if you know your English history, then this is when Henry VIII decided to split from Rome, when the Pope wouldn't annul his marriage to Catherine of Aragon to marry Anne Boleyn. Any order that remained loyal to the Pope felt the wrath of the king and fell victim to the dissolution of the monasteries. Fountains Abbey was no different, and by 1539 the monks surrendered the abbey, signalling the end to monastic life, and the abbey was abandoned. After that, much of the stone was reused in local buildings, including Fountains Hall. Fortunately, the cellarium remains, and it gives you a sense of the scale of the abbey in its heyday. Stored here would have been everything from grain and flour, wool, ale and wine, as well as tools and agricultural equipment. It would have been a medieval warehouse on an industrial scale, at around 70 metres in length. But it's not the only thing that'll impress you with its scale. Take a look at the nave. Imagine this when the Abbey was in full song. Take a look at those pillars, the scale. Like so many buildings with this heritage, it boasts a mix of styles, from the early Norman Romanesque to Gothic of later years. But the Cistercian influence of simplicity covers all periods. I have to say it's impressive. And if you're impressed with this video and enjoy my style of storytelling, then why not give us a like? You could even subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our future travels. Now let me tell you about Fountains Abbey's bell tower, or the Huby Tower. Built around 1500 to 1526, so not that long before the Abbey was abandoned, and it stands 49 metres or 160 foot tall. It gets its name from its builder, Abbot Marmaduke Huby. It's probably one of the most visually striking things about the exterior of the Abbey. And this is very much a Gothic part of the structure. I think there is an irony in the fact that the Cistercians created Fountains Abbey as a way towards a simpler life, to strive for poverty, only for it to become one of the wealthiest and most powerful abbeys in the country. About a visit to Fountains Abbey. I think it makes a great day out for all ages. You can see the kids love it. It's a magical place to explore. And for those with a love of history, it's fascinating. It may seem obvious, but I think comfy shoes are a must. And for those less able than most, there may be some challenges. Check out the National Trust website for more details. Don't forget that link is in the description. If you're an EV owner, at the time of recording there are 12 untethered 11 kWh chargers in car park A. On our 3-hour visit we could have picked up a decent charge in that time, and we could have easily spent longer here. But if you look skyward, you may understand why we didn't. Following the River Skell along, we're now transitioning towards Studley Royal Water Garden. There's no barrier or gate, it's all part of the ticket price. And when you check the UNESCO listing, it's for Studley Royal Park, including the ruins of Fountains Abbey, not the other way round. What we're going to discover is what UNESCO describes as, in the 18th century, a designed landscape of exceptional beauty was created in the ruins of the Cistercians' Fountains Abbey, one of the most magnificent Georgian water gardens ever created, making this landscape of outstanding merit. I think that sums it up rather nicely. We would have explored more if it didn't look like it was going to tip it down. And I hadn't replied to Janice that we didn't need to take the umbrella. Well, you saw the skies at the beginning, right? The gardens are the work of John Aislabie, beginning in 1718, a powerful politician who served as Chancellor of the Exchequer. However, his career ended in disgrace due to his involvement in the South Sea bubble crisis of 1720, so he devoted his time to these gardens. On a bright day, as it was when we started, I bet these would have looked magnificent. However, we're now making a beeline towards Studley Tea Room. The weather here seems really localised, but I think we know what's coming. It's still warm, so we treat ourselves to an ice cream. We're now outside the National Trust ticketed area, but we're still in Studley Royal Park. There are deer here, we can spot them in the distance, but we've got a mile walk back to the car park if we're going past St Mary's Church, so we'll give them a miss this time. Before we get to the church, there's the Choristers House, built in 1873 for George Robinson, 1st Marquis of Ripon. Today it's a National Trust holiday cottage. St Mary's Church is managed by English Heritage and is open between 1:30 and 3:30 and free to visit. However, today it wasn't. So while we admire the outside, I guess it's time for me to wrap up. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you like what we put together. Until next time, stay safe, stay well, and happy travels.